Wall Streeters and financial professionals, certified financial planners, have put out 5 simple rules of retirement. These are 5 rules that you could follow or you should follow if you're planning on retiring or if you are retired right now. If you're thinking about the future, thinking that one day I want to stop working, and you're trying to get some basics down for how much money you need, what's involved, how can I plan for retirement, this video is for you. So rule 1 is the 4% rule. Now the 4% rule has been around a long time. This is something that was originally set up by, I think maybe Barron's or a group of financial planners. It was a long time ago. This is sort of a hard and fast rule. It, like I said, been very popular, but you know, there are some fluctuations with this. So the 4% rule just says that you should never withdraw 4% of your money the first year. And then you should adjust for inflation every year thereafter. So only 4%, that's what you're allotted. Now, there is nuance to this because everybody, and all of you watching this, your expenses are going to be different. Where you live, how much money you need to live, what you want your future to be like, how much you have set aside, and how much money it's generating for you. Those are all going to be different. But let's use the 4% rule because it is a good rule of thumb. So let's say you had $1 million. You were thinking about retiring, you had $1 million in the bank, you had $1 million in your 401k, you're cashing it out. Okay? Well, the 4% rule says that 4% of $1 million is 40 grand. So that says that you could withdraw 40 grand your first year. And then you would adjust for inflation thereafter, each year thereafter. So this gives a good baseline to think about, okay, what are my monthly expenses? Or what would they be in the future if I chose to stop working? Now, let's say 40 grand wasn't enough. Let's say your expenses are more. Or let's say you wanted to spend more in retirement. You want to travel, you're going to go out to eat more, visit family and friends, something like that. Let's say you needed double that to live, 80 grand. Okay, that means that according to this rule, you would need to have at least $2 million before you decide to retire. So 2 million, 4% of that is 80 grand. So this is a good sort of, you know, rule of thumb to try and figure out the dollars that you would need. But remember, like I said, it's going to be different for everybody depending on your expenses and how much you're actually going to spend when you do retire. The second rule is be educated. Get yourself educated. Now, Susie Orman wrote a really good article about this. She said, even if you've done a good job saving, you might not have the right tools to make smart financial decisions in your retirement. She said, having a solid financial literacy is a must because you need to be knowledgeable enough to make informed financial decisions. So this is sort of a common sense thing. I mean, one thing I've learned in life is that common sense is not very common. But you need some financial literacy. If you're giving all your money to a financial planner and they're managing it for you, you still need to be literate. Okay, you still need to understand first that financial advisor is probably going to put you in the products that pay him the most in commission, the products that his company is pushing, which means you may be giving up several points in terms of return on your investment in exchange for letting him do everything for you. In addition, you're going to pay him a healthy fee, 2-3%. So you want to have some basis of financial literacy before you just say, okay, I'm out, I'm going to stop working, and I'm going to figure it out on my own. Figure it out before you quit your job. Don't take Social Security until the latest possible date. A lot of people want to take Social Security as early as possible, age 62. Wait longer, because the longer you wait, the more money you'll have. And this should make sense because the money is still being held by the government, invested by the government, and therefore you'll have more money later. Your benefit will be higher the longer you wait. Now, this is true for most people who don't invest their money. I would advise the opposite, but there's a catch. I would say take the money out as soon as you possibly can. As soon as the government says you can, okay, that's 62 years old. Take out as much as you can, but don't spend that money and don't count on that money for retirement. Instead, invest it. So you take the money out as early as possible and you invest it in the market. Now, the ROI you're making, the return on investment, is going to be significantly higher than what the government is doing for you. Now, obviously, this takes a little knowledge on your part. This is something for the DIY type of person who understands investing. They know what they want to put it in. They've been investing. They have a brokerage account. They have an IRA, a 401k. They're knowledgeable. If you're not knowledgeable, you don't have anything set aside except maybe the 401k that your HR manager checked off a box and said, "Here, we're going to put your money in this," then you want to wait. You want to wait to get the biggest benefit you possibly can. The next rule is simply to cut costs, downsize. Maybe when you were working, you were spending a lot of money, you had things that maybe they pertain to your work life, your job, your career. Now, if you don't have that job anymore, maybe you could get rid of some of those things, shrink your life a little bit, make it simpler, cut costs wherever you can cut costs. Rule number 5 is be honest with your kids. Now, why in the world would anyone want to have kids? I don't know. But I'm kidding. But if you have kids, be honest with your kids about your financial situation. Okay, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You want to make sure your kids are aware of, at least, you don't necessarily need to tell them how much money you have, but at least where your money is. Have some kind of will set up, some kind of trust set up so that if something did happen, this is the time that you want to plan ahead and make sure that everything's taken care of for your kids. The people you're going to leave behind, make sure they know where things are. At least let them know you have a living will set up. And this is where it is. This is the law firm. This is their phone number. You want to make sure that you have that kind of thing. If you're a single person like I am, make sure that your brokerage account has a designated beneficiary. Okay, in my case, I have no family. So if I were to die, all of my money would automatically go to the state. Okay, I don't want my money to go to the state, so I designated a beneficiary. I have a charity named so that when I die, my assets will go to this charity. So that's something you might want to look into. So those are 5 simple rules when it comes to retirement. I'm going to add my own here. Okay, I'm going to add a 6th rule. I think that before you decide to stop working, to cut off that stream of income, your earned income, and say, okay, I'm going to live off my investments, be debt-free first. I think that the best thing you could do before retiring is make sure you're debt-free. And that includes the biggest debt you probably have, and that's your house. I couldn't imagine ending my work life and no longer having that income if I still had a big payment every month. When I decided to stop working, my house was paid off. It actually was paid off long before that. I was debt-free. I haven't had a car payment since I was in college. There are no big payments. If you're thinking of retiring, whether you're, 55, 65, 75 years old, before you do that, really consider the liabilities, the money that's going out the door. Everybody focuses on income. Look at what's going out the door. And if you still have a sizable mortgage or, again, I'd say a mortgage at all, I think being debt-free is much safer. It's going to protect you. You never know how much money you're going to spend in the future. You never know what you're going to need, what's going to happen. There are certain things you can't guess at. You just don't know what the future is going to hold. And you don't know how long you're going to live. So how much money do you need? Nobody knows. You don't know. Paying off your house, being debt-free, pay off any credit card debt, whatever else you might have, car payment, shrink down. Just have a car that gets you from A to B. You don't need to have a $100,000 car to drive around if you're tired. So consider paying off your mortgage and having a debt-free life before you finally hang it up and say, okay, I'm no longer going to have this stream of income from my job. I'm going to live off of these other things, my investments. To me, I think that's the most important thing, being debt-free first. So those are 5 rules plus my own little rule I added there at the end that you could think about if you want to retire in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.